Aspinall. Listen, I've been telling you, I've been begging you guys. You got to take a look at Aspinall. There's a couple of guys in the UFC right now. I would put it as many as four, right? What is the perennial division? Always heavyweights, right? It's combat. Sure it is. Same division Muhammad Ali was in, and Mike Tyson was in, and Hulk Hogan was in. It's always the heavyweights. We have heavyweight stars. And then we have a whole bunch of heavyweight fighters. And they're not necessarily the same guy. And for the fellow fighters to get on a docket and get their name out there, they have to lock up with one of the stars. But if they don't have the ranking and the rating, if they can't bring in the draw, right, this is where the politics of it come in. I have maintained for you guys, and I will continue to maintain, that the next generation of heavyweights that are going to take us through 2023 to 2027 is not some kid in Dagestan or a kid in Cuba who's an 8th grader, like many of you think. I think they're with us right now. I think they are signed to the organization right now. They just haven't had their moment. And Aspinall is one of those guys who I've identified for you guys a number of months ago. I told you, this is the guy. My favorite thing about Aspinall, that if I was fighting him or one of my guys fighting him, I got to coach against him, it's his hands. This guy can box. Western boxing. You don't have to worry about the knees and the elbows and the Muay Thai and the spinning this as much. You got to worry about the lefts and the rights. You got to worry about the power that he has both in his hands and the concrete he's got in his chin. Tough son of a bitch. But when the house has been on fire and he's needed it the most, he doesn't go to the boxing. Now, I got a mole inside of Aspinall's camp. So I spoke to him last night and just said, hey, what's going on here? I thought, Tom, this was he's going to have to get inside. And he's dealing with a big kickboxer here in Volkov. It's going to be a stand-up battle. Who's going to be able to get to the target first? Who's going to be able to get there more often? Tom comes out, tackles him, and finishes him. What am I missing? He goes, well, Chael, he goes, you're actually right. In practice, Tom spends most of his time on mitts with his hands and also when we spar with his hands. This is the word. I haven't seen it. But when he needs it, he prefers to go to his grappling. Well, that adds a whole nother wrinkle. I've been high on Aspinall just thinking he had the boxing and the takedown defense. Now you are telling me he has the ability to get takedowns. Oh, and by the way, finish fights on the ground? I didn't even know that when I've been telling you guys how good he is. And you got to go back to his fight with Andrei Arlovski if you guys missed that. Andre was touching him up on the feet. Boom, 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 touching him up. Round comes to an end. Tom gets some kind of instruction. Round starts, takes him down with a double, gets Andre out of there. And it was very similar. Tom just didn't wait. Tom didn't wait to get touched on the chin to have to go to a corner to kill a round. He just came out and got that takedown, which is a very rare thing to do for a British guy, which is a country that does not contest wrestling. It's hard. It's hard to get that kind of training in. Australia is another one, just by example. And Robert Whittaker, while he is getting very good at the takedowns, is awesome at the takedown defense. But it's very hard to do. You've got to seek it out. I didn't have to seek it out. And nobody in North America does. When I was growing up, it was in the middle schools. It's less in the middle schools now due to budget cuts, but there's clubs all over the place. Every high school has it. The colleges have it. It doesn't matter if you're junior college, NAI, Division II, Division I. It's one of these things. Wrestling's easy to get. You can get those kinds of workouts. It's hard over there. So to see Aspinall be able to come out and be so good with the grappling, right? The wrestling part of the grappling. Once you're on the ground, that's what you guys know as grappling. But it's not. That's the jiu-jitsu. That's the catch wrestling if you're talking to Josh Barnett. That's very different than the wrestling aspect, which is what takes you to the ground in the first place. It's what Tom's doing so well. It's one of these very interesting things. Now, Tom, knowing the business and going to have the final say of the entire evening, whatever he says is going to be heard louder than anything else that was said because he does it last, calls out Tai Tuivasa. I'm on board. I'm not going to predict for you guys. I'm going to need a little bit more time to play with that. And I only have one reason why I think from a political standpoint it might not happen. However, when I tell you I'm on board, it's because I've yet to hear a better idea. Tai Tuivasa is the most popular heavyweight in the world right now. He should be ranked number 3. I don't know that they gave it to him. I know he's up there. He should be number 3. He is the most popular. He is the one box office draw that you can count on more than any other heavyweight. What do you do with him? Because Tai's skills have not caught up. They will. And don't hear that as an insult, because boy, it's sure not meant to be one. There is something exciting about the potential of Tuivasa because he is so green. He's dog tough. He's an awesome competitor. He shows up in shape. He is not scared. He can deal with nerves. That's the intangibles, but that's the hard stuff. as far as learning what to do, how you're going to get takedowns, how you're going to defend takedowns, how you're going to block, how you're going to roll, how you're going to fire back, what are you going to do with the kick. That comes in the practice room. That's not Tuivasa's job. That's his coach's job. All Tuivasa has to do is keep listening to his coach, and then time takes place. And the ring is that I bring that to you. The Tuivasa that you love today, that should be ranked number 3 in the world, would get stopped, finished in the first round by the Tuivasa you're going to see 1 year from today. So that's where, when I tell you this is exciting, I'm far from putting him down. Tai Tuivasa could end up being the world champion, guys. Are you ready for that? Those skills aren't there right now, but he could be. So who you match him up with is extremely important. Now, Aspinall's got that same rise coming. And skill-wise, I don't know who would win that fight. They could both beat each other. So in many ways, that's a great match. The problem is Aspinall is just what I said. He's on his way up. So you're going to put 2 potential future stars. One of them gets eliminated. I don't love that idea. I don't love it. I like the match. I don't know how to solve that problem. Because heavyweight is just that. It's a problem. We got 4 guys sitting at the top. Between your Francis, the rumor of Jones, of course Stipe, and Derek Lewis. You got these 4 stars. Then you get some really good fighters. These fighters have got to get matched up with the stars. They got to trade places. The stars have got to prove themselves. That's what the sport's all about. You prove your spot or you pass the torch, and then same thing happens to the next group. But it has to be that way. I don't like the idea of putting 2 up-and-comers that are going to be future box office draws to eliminate one another. I don't love that part of it. So I don't know that I'm willing to predict it. I will happily admit for you guys, to this point in time, I have not even heard a better idea. So you may have that fight, but the point is neither whether that fight happens or not. The point is that Aspinall has us talking about the fight, which is his job. He owes that to himself. He served himself very well.